Hi, this is Ed back again with another video. Shout out to everybody on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thank you so much for your support. And let's just really get right into it here. Of course, you can see all my links on screen. Actually, one more thing. If you do want to find the channel, the YouTube channel is basically set up to mirror over to Odyssey, which is working, right? It's not actually working as it auto loads over. I have to literally use a program in order to do it, a script using the API that they have there, a token or whatever it's called. I can't remember what they have, but they have this program of which you can do it. So the videos that come out on YouTube get uploaded to Odyssey, but there is two Odyssey channels. For some reason, when I created, I think I glitched it. Both of them show up underneath my account, or it's got one and the other. But the one that obviously has the videos on, that's the actual mirror of the YouTube channel, Clown World News Fellowship, where all this larger form content gets clipped, cut up, and then uploaded. I don't have a lot of subscribers here. I think I got like 60. But it's just to offload those people that are interested in short clips. As people have been saying over the years that my videos are too long, obviously, and then other people enjoy longer videos. I guess they use them for play in the background. I sure do the same thing. I actually watch this channel that just talks about model trains sometimes, and I'll put it on in the background while I do something. I don't know. It's just something. If you're evolved to be in a small tribe, right? As I said the other day, I think I said you are acclimatized to hearing ambience in the surroundings, right? People talking, people, I don't know, sharpening a spear, people just doing stuff in the middle of the night, through the day, whatever the case is. In a real tribe, you probably have people that are running watch duty, so to speak. Obviously, if you are in places where humans live, there's usually predators involved, whether bears, tigers, lions, things of that nature, or other human beings, right? Other human beings can be dangerous as well from other tribes. So you're used to this kind of like constant noise, like you don't feel like you are alone. Do you know what I mean? So I think that it kind of like when you don't hear that, I have a suspicion that there's this kind of fear switch that happens in your mind. Not like total fear, but something that generates anxiety, maybe a bit of adrenaline in the background that you can become acclimatized to. Of course, some people probably can go to the middle of the woods and feel nothing, but in the middle of the woods, you hear things. I do think that. That's why it can be calming hearing ambience or people like typing or these kinds of background sounds, right? Because we are evolved in order to have that part of the mind switched on for constant sound. People sleep with the television on, right? You sleep with the music on. They put earphones on. So there is that kind of nature to it. I do wonder if like insomnia, I don't know much about insomnia, although I'm writing a book that has these elements in it. But I do wonder if insomnia and things of this nature can be alleviated in part by having that around them for a long enough period of time. I do wonder, although insomnia is a very serious condition, right? There are people that just cannot go to sleep. It's very, very difficult. They cannot go to sleep for such a period of time and then they crash. Of course, there's probably people listening to this that do have insomnia. I mean, they probably use all kinds of methodologies in order to try to treat that. Heart goes out to you. I mean, I do have problems with my sleeping patterns, but it isn't insomnia so much as just not wanting to go to sleep, really. I mean, if I turn over and start, you know, thinking about something in my head, like a story or something, I usually can get to sleep okay. The problem is I wake up. So I go to sleep for like 4 hours, wake up, then I'm up, right? And then like it's a nap through the day or something. Anyway, just a little thing about that. So if you go on YouTube and you search Clown World News Fellowship and then like CWNF, I guess, it will pull it up there on YouTube, and of course it is on Odyssey as well. And as I said before, why don't I upload it to everywhere? Well, because the long form content's uploaded to everywhere. This is just to provide a space at which if you say, I want to watch the shorter stuff, you can go over there on Odyssey right, and do that, or go there on YouTube and do that, right? Otherwise, this is all auto uploaded and clipped via an AI. So who puts the bumper on it, the intro and outro and everything? Although I designed it, obviously, like how I want it to be and what I want it to clip. And it will show me all the clips. I've got all these gates where it'll show me the clips it's clipped. I'll watch them, skim them. You know what I mean? So I actually made them, so I do know what they're about. And then it will say, do you like these topics? And I'll say yay or nay. So there is all these gates in it, right? I'll cancel out, because some things that I talk about aren't really worth putting into a clip. Plus I have a max of about 6. I can upload about 6 a day. So I usually upload for that throughout the day. Anyway, let's get into it here. So here is one here. Seaman who refused COVID shot thrilled Navy rehired him just to mandate brand new mRNA flu vaccine, which is true. I mean, the irony of that, and this is the Babylon BB, which is like, it's not really, it's kind of like just news, but they have this ironical nature to them, or their little posts there. And that's true. The irony is that the seamen who refused it, in the army as well, from what I remember, going on memory, they were actually reinstated. Remember, there was this large reinstatement of people that refused to take the vaccine and were fired, probably because they needed to increase their enlistment numbers. But they were reinstated because of that, only now, as you can see in the document I showed the other day, to be mandated to take it again. Now that is literally clown world, right? That's a clown world situation. Although in the United States, you have to give credit because they did reinstate them. I believe they had all the back pay and, things of that nature, because that was something, right? I didn't hear them doing that in New Zealand. I didn't hear them doing that in the UK. I think once you're out, you're gone. They don't want to apologize, or they don't want to do anything like that, because that would be kind of a soft admission that they did something wrong. So that isn't going to happen here in New Zealand. So what we have is just a massive shortage of nurses, doctors, So Aaron Rodgers, here's Chris Martinson saying, common knowledge alert, he states, we're approaching that point where everybody knows that, quote unquote, or at least everyone knows, there with asterisks, that the COVID jabs were harmful from the get-go. Fauci was in on it, and the mainstream media covered it all up for some reason. 11.5 million views, and he's talking about this Aaron Rodgers clip here from ESPN. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is a football player. So let's have a look at what he had to say. Here is what the clip is. It's 2 minutes, so let's play it here.
A couple times today, because you've been very open about coming back for this year, last rodeo, and you talked about your wife saying, hey, have another year. Mike McCarthy being here, obviously a big deal. Can you tell us about the mindset of coming into your last season? Like, that's a real thing, it feels like, because is everything better? Is everything funner? Is everything more awesome? Like, how do you kind of view this year versus maybe the years of the past?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Gotta love that guy.
Okay.
Like that absolute coward, Tony Fauci. Absolute coward.
Yeah.
There, it's back,
Are
baby.
you kidding me?
Yeah. 111.
You got a pardon and you're in front and you pleaded over 100 times
Yeah.
at the White House? What are you scared of, Tony?
Yeah.
I thought you were the
So this is where he goes on about Tony Fauci. I just want to point out something very quickly. Think of football and all sports. Don't get me wrong, I understand there's probably people listening to this that are into football. I used to play rugby myself. I used to play rugby league right up until my 20s. We used to play every night. We would go out on the field, us and, like about 20 other people, and play a game of league, couple of games before I went home. That was like every day. Sports are really great for that, socializing, fellowship. But look what they've done. They've turned sports into this thing where it's uses up all the male energy. They treat it as important as politics. Politics has a real influence in your environment, your food, your shelter, your safety. Football has no influence. Soccer has no influence on literally your well-being, unless you're obsessed with it. Let's keep on going. So he's talking about Anthony Fauci.
And you're in front, and you pleaded over 100 times at the White House. What are you scared of, Tony?
Yeah.
I thought you were the science.
Yeah.
I thought you were I am science, and you get up there and you can't answer a question.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And how much time did the network spend at that? How much time did they spend on my responses every week, on my vaccination status, on Taylor and Travis's wedding?
Yeah!
Did they do even a minute? Did they do even a minute on Tony Fauci?
No, I don't think I've heard anything.
I bet they didn't.
But on that note,
Then there was another scandal this offseason, too, involving a voter for MVP, for Coach of the Year. How much time did your network spend? Where's your Kev? Did your network spend on that?
I wish I
Well, this is the thing. People like him that stood up, if you don't know, stood up against the vaccine mandates. They're very health conscious, actually. As I reported the other day, they went off to India to do a specific diet, which was just lentils and rice, basically, in order to cleanse their body. And I have no doubt that actually worked, because I've done stuff similar. In fact, we'll get into that afterwards. But there he is, and he hasn't had really anybody come back and say that he was right in order to stand up at all.
How much time did you
Go back
spend?
to Fauci.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.
Tony, go back to Fauci?
Yeah.
Go back to the coward Tony Fauci and his science?
Hold on now.
Who's spending the entire time writing in his diary about how fun it is to be famous? You got to be kidding me.
Okay, so on that note,
What are you going to say about me now?
Debate him,
What are you going to say
debate
about me
him.
no,
now?
I got no debate here. You had a 500.
No, seriously, what are they going to say about me now? Now you can't talk about the COVID stuff, because obviously it was made, in a lab in China. That's like not even questionable anymore. Tony Fauci is an absolute criminal. I'm on good terms with my family. I'm on good terms with my family. What are you going to say now? What are you going to say now?
I want to let you know, it's been a fun ride for you, I would assume, over the last
It's
couple.
been a great life and a great career.
I bet the producers speaking and the host, saying you got to drop it, move on, segue off, do something. That got 11 million views. People are waking up, apparently. Well, kind of. I think the idea is that they were tricked. A lot of people were tricked. Look, there's people listening to this in this audience. They're listening to me, and they're forced to get it, right? You're probably not listening to me, and you had to get it without no choice involved, right? It's probably you didn't have a choice. And there is some upside, which has been shown that largely there were batches where there were no side effects whatsoever. It's possible that it did stay localized in some aspect to whatever, or maybe it was just saline. What I think is they staggered it in order to make the signal less visible, to statistical analyses or whatever. So that means that some batches were negative and the other batches were, your red line positive, if you get the drift there on the side effect ratios there. So it doesn't mean if you got it that you're like going to fall over. Most likely, there's many factors involved, right? And as people have stated, if you've gone this many years and nothing really, you're probably out of the woods, or your body wasn't damaged to the point of not being able to recover. But the point is, the idea of the nightmare is so huge, of people that sold, and these are the other people that actually sold the effect to their friends and family. The idea that they did that, and now their friends and family might be sick, is so negative to those people that actually have empathy, obviously, that they don't want to wake up to that nightmare. The nightmare being that you get your mother that gave your children this 5 times, and then your son fell over, I don't know, and died while he was on his bike, like 12 years old. Why was that? Also, a lot of this is being covered up. I believe that a lot of mass immigration was actually, obviously there's a grand strategy to it, but some of that was to replace eliminated people in the workforce, I think, right? So you wouldn't have these kind of weird numbers show up like, suddenly there's a mass employment crisis because a lot of people aren't physically well to work anymore, as well as a lot of people just aren't there anymore. So here is, and this is, same story here. The Pfizer trials used fraudulent data, or at least the whistleblower I am Brooke Jackson. So that, this is in regarding, all these signals, right? All these signals that were fraudulently created. Robert Barnes here, of course, is a very well-known lawyer, had something to say about this. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Nothing about them met any level of standard for saying something is safe, for saying something is effective, or for simply being able to figure out whether or not it's even a vaccine. So, because, I mean, you had people rolling in the hallways, you had people's private medical information tattooed on the walls, you had people, adverse events not being reported, you had not even blinding people, so that, which is critical to any degree of accuracy or efficacy measurements in a clinical test. So she went to her bosses. They said they would try to fix it. They didn't. So she went to those bosses. They said, okay, we'll shut it all down and we'll restart anew. And then she figured out they were not going to do that and went to the FDA. And the same day she went to the FDA, she gets fired later that same day. So she then goes to the government, gives it to the government, and Bill Barr hides it for the better part of 6 months. Then the Biden administration comes in and hides it for another year because they don't want the world to know that this is an unsafe, ineffective, therapeutic drug that doesn't act as a vaccine at all. And those were the terms that the government required. The contract with the Defense Department was that Pfizer would deliver a safe, effective vaccine for the prevention of COVID-19 at speed and scale. So those 6 requirements. All they delivered was speed and scale. What they delivered was dangerous, ineffective, not a vaccine, never prevented COVID-19. Indeed, you have a higher risk currently of getting COVID-19 if you've taken the COVID shot than if you've never taken the COVID shot. So once we got involved, we got the British Medical Journal to publish their report and we got the government to unseal it.
So there you are. So there are some things happening, obviously, and that's Donald Trump's Operation Warp Speed, which he still says is fantastic. Amazing, he states. And they mandated the mRNA. Now there's no excuse for not knowing what's happening, right? This years later, Donald Trump has all this information. He doesn't care. He makes up reality based upon his statements. He says that everything's fine, the strait's open. It doesn't resemble reality. So here is the classic flashback.
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci, yes? Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
They'll give you burgers, they'll give you donuts, they'll give you vouchers. Remember here in New Zealand, they're giving out stuff like that, like bagels or whatever. To give you something that is basically based on fraud via pharmaceutical cartels that literally have paid out billions and billions of dollars in the past historically on fraud. And, look at the world now. There's a lot of things that are problematic here. Obviously. You can see a problem if somebody has myocarditis, right? There is physically a problem that people know something is wrong with their heart. They go to the doctor. You can give them certain kinds of tests to see if it's inflamed in parts of it or whatever the case is with myocarditis, that inflammation caused by basically the immune system attacking your own body because it's full of foreign invaders. But there is another problem here. a problem that no one really talks about. And the fact is that because there is stuff happening in the brain, likely crosses the blood-brain barrier, because people that take it have neurological problems, right? That means things are happening in the brain, and slight changes to psychology of an individual, right? Maybe afterwards they're less empathetic, maybe they have a more exaggerated personality, maybe they're more likely to gamble, like excessively, maybe there's something just wrong with them. And you talk to them and you can see it, right? It's like they're out of phase a little bit, just slightly from how you used to know them. And that is really an interesting thing in our world that we have to deal with, right? That people have changed. Not completely, you can't see the exaggerated personality as in distortion, but, in slight and subtle ways. I equate it to a person that, it's kind of like this cliche trope that you see in movies. Also, not just a trope, but you've seen with, what was her name? Winona Ryder. What's her name? Actually, I remember. Miss Ryder there anyway, that was from the 80s, was in here. There's a saying. How do you say her name? I can't remember. Someone will know in the comment section. Shows you like how many films. I've actually seen a few of her films, but I can't remember her name. Winona, that is it. Winona Ryder. Yeah, that's it. Winona Ryder, is that it? Anyway, she was, in the tabloids for stealing stuff from stores. Now, she has lots of money. She has no need to steal things. Okay. But stealing things apparently gave her a thrill, right? A thrill. Now, we see this play out in other tropes. I can't remember what was the other one with Breaking Bad, where Walter White's wife, so it'd have been his sister-in-law, who was married to the DEA detective, she was stealing stuff from shops as well, probably inspired by that kind of celebrity stealing. But this is a kind of like a personality thing that happens within certain types of people. Maybe life is so dull that they get a little bit of an adrenaline rush from it, and they become addicted to a little bit of that adrenaline, from doing something bad. But this is the kind of thing you might see, but you might see little accelerations of that, right? It's kind of quite interesting. But, the vaccine that keeps on giving, and there has been no ramification for it. There's been no one apologizing for it in any particular meaningful way. There's been someone here and there, but it's basically nobody. Look how easy it is to control people under threat of them losing their jobs or whatever and livelihoods. I guess that is a big threat mechanism if they've got a family, but you don't see any apologies whatsoever. A lot of these people that are in charge of these organizations make millions, hundreds of thousands a year. They're definitely in the safe bracket for if they got fired, right, to land on that cushion. None of them have anything to say at all. An abundance of wealth they have. And not like they're going to be homeless. Nothing to say. Nobody, anywhere. And they all want to pin it on Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci is just a figurehead, right? It is the thousands of people associated with him. It's all the doctors that played along, right? Are they going to give up some of their, their status in order to come forward? Hopefully they come forward under their own merit. It is difficult. I realize it's difficult for these people to do it because they will might lose their medical license. But who are the people that are doing that, taking away their medical license from the doctors? Where's the accountability from the director of the hospital, whatever, that fired everyone? Or Donald Trump. Where is the accountability with him? I hear nobody talk on mainstream news, right? Even on the other side, you get talk about the fact that this is Donald Trump who did this. A lot of this architecture is him. He's the one that gave them blanket immunity. If he didn't give them blanket immunity, then they would have been regulated through lawsuits, right? They wouldn't be able to get away with most of the stuff. There would have been a comeuppance for their behavior, but that's not what happened. Anyway, let's have a look at something else here. The White House posted this for our next story. The Capitol restored, order restored, the Capitol reclaimed, with a big crown on his head. And this is where the White House came out and made a Game of Thrones video. Let's take a look. I'm going to have to mute the sound because they use the literal Game of Thrones music, which I think you can get struck for it or whatever the case is. So it's just that a lot of these places are very copyright centric, I guess you would say. But we'll just see how we go. So basically it's the Game of Thrones music. We'll just turn down the music. Basically it's the Game of Thrones music as you see there, and it's just a bunch of CGI, AI slop basically. I don't have anything against using AI tools for video making. Of course I said that it would be useful, but you can always tell it because it doesn't do anything correctly. Look at what it does is it overproduces intricacy all the time and just looks like a nightmare. The real world has intricacy at micro, but it's not completely, it's like super, super intricate at every single level over and over again, if you know what I mean. Go look at a forest. Yes, there's trees and stuff like that from a distance. It is intricate in nature's way, but look at the kind of, I should say, artificial intricacy is the problem here, because the natural world is very intricate. It's an artificial intricacy. You can see it here. It's just like slop. It's like, real artistry is about knowing when enough is enough, knowing when to stop. But it's just over and over. Of course, this is a Game of Thrones, whatever it is. It's just the music of Game of Thrones, and then a bunch of these shots of horses and gold statues, I guess, and gold. It's like you live in the Rococo period, or what do you call it? Regency, where everything is like gold and layered and all this ridiculous stuff. And now he has, and look at this. The actual symbolism of this, right? That's the White House, right? And this is the Oval Office, and that is, the desk there, the president's desk, and it just turns into what? The Iron Throne. What's that even mean? What are you talking about? Okay. What does that actually even mean? Like, this is the problem. It's like narratives don't mean anything anymore. Like, what does this actually mean? It's like shows a horse and Freedom Plaza and all this. Like a bunch of mountains, and there's the Capitol building there, and there's Big Ben in the background for a reason. Why is Big Ben there? Because it's AI slop, and it's hard to actually change this. Some water comes down. I could look at this. I'm sure this is loaded with little things here and there, but, honestly, who cares? I mean, it's just the problem with Trump is that the administration is that people that were brought up, I guess, on QAnon. I don't fault people for this because no one can follow things at the depth I think needed to kind of know if anything's true or false on the offset. I sure don't. It takes a while. But people that follow QAnon are trained on looking for symbols. What they do here is there isn't necessarily symbols, I think, in that video anyway. The other one there was with magic, but you could, it's just like you throw enough slop at the screen, and then sooner or later people see like letters or alphabet soup on the wall, and then they start connecting them together. Now I do that. I connect dots here and there now and then, but I do think that is what all this kind of AI stuff being thrown at the screen is, a lot of it. Although I do find it very interesting, that one from the other video where they replicated Nicole Kidman plays a witch and was playing a witch in that AMC commercial, at least when she was talking about magic, and then you exchange MAGA for that. Something else happening. People are reply in the comment section things like this. This is the Babylon BB again saying the Mad King burns his coalition alive. Pretty much. He's burnt it to the ground. So I don't get the Iron Throne. The Iron Throne was just a symbol of power that corrupted. You largely never had a good king. It was just ruled by might as right. It was always scrambling for power. George R. Martin said the actual last book, which he never wrote, would have an ending whereby there would just be endless graveyards and death, like to show that there was no one left at the game once it had been finished, right? The Game of Thrones, it was just dead bodies. Listen to this here, and this is how Fox News talks about Donald Trump's winning the war. He won nothing. The strait's still closed. Iran said it will not reopen the strait unless there's like all these particular things agreed to, and there's no room for negotiation. They've said that publicly, and they also said they're not talking to Donald Trump. They have no interest in negotiating, and they'll just wait out the Trump presidency until he goes away. Which, if the strait stays closed, basically destroys the Trump's presidency. They don't even have to bomb anywhere. The pressure would just start mounting and mounting, because you get to the point now you're destroying the economies of countries, right? You're destroying the economies of countries because you won't leave. This means these countries, which are collapsing and will start collapsing if the strait stays closed, it's already, you can see it through inflation. That's the devaluation of the dollar, right? The inflation that's happening, that's why everything's more expensive. It's because your currency is not worth as much, like here in New Zealand. Why would it be worth as much, right? We don't produce anything anymore. We produce food, but we produce that at huge expense because we wanted to enter into this type of, it's kind of like where you buy you buy some meat and you get it delivered in like a nice little wooden box with some like straw in it and some like, grapes and stuff as, decoration around the side, and your steaks in there is like, $350 or something, because it comes from, the middle of Italy or something, in the mountains where they feed the cows acorns or whatever, or mashed up acorns and truffles. That's kind of like the mentality here in New Zealand, and it was ridiculous, right? Yes, New Zealand produces premium meat, or did, before they started talking about how they want to put mRNA vaccines in all the beef or whatever they want to do. That would be catastrophic for our dairy and meat industry overseas. And that would be insane to do that. But they probably will, because they'll never admit that it did anything wrong. Anyway, let's have a look at this here, which is this is our third story, really. This is the Fox News and how they're talking about Donald Trump and how he won the war with Iran. Iran's on the back foot. Back foot where? What are you talking about? It's like they're talking from another reality, and it's ludicrous. They're saying that Iran's on the back foot. Let's listen to it.
Another Fox News alert: our troops around the globe are staying sharp. Soldiers are training in the jungles of Bangladesh in the Tiger Lightning exercise. But the action's in the desert, where Iran is getting either a deal or a missile shower.
Listen to the way he talks. This is somebody that's an idiot, okay? And another thing is just really putting up placards like from some kind of the back of a GIG. You go off to the toy store and you buy a bunch of GI Joes and you look at the back for the quotes or whatever quotes are on there about, the generals, a spray of missiles. They can have a deal or a spray of missiles. What is he talking about? It's just ridiculous, right? They can have a spray. They're running out of missiles. That's why Trump hasn't maneuvered, because there's not any missiles. He said it himself. The missiles are depleted. This is coming from the own reports from the Pentagon. Whether it's a feign or not, who knows, right? Most likely it's true, because I've given so many to the Ukraine, right?
Mideast negotiators tell Axios the deal could be approved soon. But inside the country, it's a knife fight. Warring factions. It's the diplomats against the military. And the gay Ayatollah doesn't have the juice to bring them together, like his daddy did. No one
doesn't have the juice to bring them together. I wish people like that, you gave them a rifle and told them to go for it, right? Put them on an aircraft carrier and part of a platoon and give them a rifle. And you can repeat all these placards to people as he's going into the battlefield. The other thing is, at least in Rome, right? If you go back to Rome, or these places, the people that were, lauded were usually people that had some kind of glory around them, like ancient Greece or whatever, in Homer's Iliad or whatever the case is. Glory was the number one thing. Well, at least you can say that those people, okay, and them having the glory around them actually had some kind of historical podium on which they could speak in authentic ways because they were actually there on the battlefield, or at least with Caesar or whoever they were watching a battlefield. At least they seen perhaps the cost of losing. Or, they had to actually know what they're doing. They had to have some competency. But now you just have these people.
Seen him in months. The diplomats say the economy's collapsed and they have to stop the bleeding immediately. And they're right. State media is reporting their oil companies' bank accounts were frozen over massive debt.
On the economic side, we have them by the throat, and they've got 150, 180% food inflation.
Now look at the food inflation in the United States. And you watch when this kind of sweet crude that's needed through the strait doesn't appear anymore. It's going to blow up prices. Of course, the United States needs that. A lot of the country needs the oil. I won't play any more of that. You get the picture. It's all kind of like cheerleading for death. That's the one thing they have in common, is they're cheerleaders of death. However, here's Daniel Davis Deep Dives putting some clarity here. This is a clear and in-your-face repudiation of President Trump that's even imaginable. It's a clear and in-your-face repudiation of President Trump. That's okay. So just a little thing with a sentence there. So Joe Kent made it very clear in his resignation letter that Israel's highest interests were prevailing over American interests at the highest levels of government. Netanyahu takes it a step further, an outright rejection of President Trump's Gaza peace plan, and declares that he will do what he wants to do and requires President Trump to continue supporting whatever Netanyahu wants to do. Basically, Donald Trump put together a peace plan, apparently. I think a lot of this is theater, like a school play, to make it look like there is... What's happening is Donald Trump's poll numbers are so low. In order to recapture some of his base, a lot of the question there that's pulling them low is the Israel thing, where Israel seems to basically lead the United States. People don't like that, even his own supporters. So is that like a 37 approval rating? It's probably far lower than that, actually. A lot of these manufactured polls pump it up. But Netanyahu doing this actually is good for Trump in a way, because Netanyahu rejected the peace plan, basically says he'll do whatever he wants, which they do. But he's saying it clearly, at least he's honest about it, and this makes Donald Trump look like somebody that's not in control of the direction of the wagon they're on, right? That they're both riding, that he's the driver. And Trump, of course, you'd think wouldn't like that, but this is good for Trump's polls because, for in a way, because it seems like there is a tear in fabric between Israel or Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. His base doesn't like that there's this comradeship, this happy families between the two, that Donald Trump seems to do anything that Netanyahu wants, and it would be beneficial in order to tear that, to make it look like that publicly. That's what I think's happening. I don't think there's any... I think Donald Trump is basically a puppet, right? He will basically do anything that the lobby, who's given him $300 million to be fair, and they've paid a lot of money for that influence, through Marianne Adelson, etc. So that's the situation. So it's kind of like a little... It looks like a little, look at them, they're not getting on. There's still hope that Trump's an individual. No, he's not. Okay, he's not. The only strategy that probably is at play is to maintain the blockade long enough, have an excuse to do so they can justify the build price of the pipeline through Israel, at least from an investor perspective, that you have the long-term situation is catastrophic enough that investment comes into that pipeline. Countries agree to protect it and help build and invest in the pipeline for Israel. After all, it's for all of us. And then you have that particular pipeline built, and that's probably the situation there. sadly. So that's the prolonged stratagem of maintaining pressure in the region long enough for the investment to flow in. The other one is that the Iran war. I don't think the Iran war is really what anybody thinks it is. Okay, obviously it's got nothing to do with nuclear weapons. And people talk about the Greater Israel Project. Yes, you need to have an Iran that is, a fallen state, so to speak, like Johannesburg, South Africa, in order to do anything, right? Then you can fund sectarian violence or both sides in order to fight each other. That's the classic one. You fund both sides, you supply the arm for both sides, you weaken it, other countries come in and start funding it as well because they have a vested interest in who takes control of the country. That goes on for 20 years, no one can read and write, everything's collapsed. You keep it going long enough, then the kind of people that develop in that society, they're basically people from the Mad Max movie, thinking about their country or what's best for it, or a good state of life is the last thing from their minds. They just want some more gasoline, right, for their their big massive truck carts or whatever you call them. So that's likely, I think, what's happening there in regarding Netanyahu. Now, there's this interesting other effect happening. I don't know what to make about it. Like I said, I think there's a lot of entities in the United States, very powerful ones, that don't have an interest in what Israel, in terms of sharing their lobbying or having to compete in that wider field of lobbying for certain contracts with the United States government. Do they want to compete? Does Lockheed Martin or Bechtel want to compete with, Israeli firms for contracts and regarding development? No, I don't think they would, right? If you integrate it was basically an integration with the Israeli military-industrial complex or different other, companies with the United States in that Section 219 of the new bill for defense spending. That has everything tacked into it. And Donald Trump creates this vector of the SAVE Act or something like this to kind of put it in there to make it look like it has the pass. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about any of that kind of stuff. What he cares about is getting that bill through. Right? That's all it is. You tack these things that seem reasonable. You supply an argument. Even if it passed, he wouldn't do anything about it. He wouldn't do anything about it at all. He never arrested, he never investigated any of the massive fraud or anything that he states happens, which a lot of people have supplied evidence for, at least in the first election. He never investigated, done anything with that. It's just, okay, and then they'll close it down. I think they only open investigations in order to get all the evidence. This is historically, and this is in the UK everywhere, right? This isn't just a US thing. Collect all the evidence, do the investigation so you can destroy it. Get all the testimony, get all the addresses, got whatever, and destroy it and lock it up. Case in point, the Epstein files, which haven't been released, even though that passed Congress and people are saying, hey, Donald Trump signed it. He didn't have to sign it. He could have vetoed. No, he couldn't veto it because it was veto proof because of the amount of people that voted for it. It had nothing to do with what he wanted. He would have vetoed it if he could. Okay. So what happened is it became law of being veto proof, and he still wouldn't release them as Justice Department. I didn't even know. And these are the people saying that they're going to track down and that they're the good guys. They're going to find the nuclear weapons. Does anybody actually believe that? Does anybody believe that the good guys are in control and they're driving the trolley in the right direction? No, historical evidence shows that's not the case. Donald Trump is basically a puppet of the banking cartels, right? He's basically a puppet of the banking cartels. That's it. That's who runs the world, by the way. What's above that, I can't say. Is it a flying saucer? Is it a giant reptilian overlord? But here's something that's been popping up kind of weirdly, and this is what I mean when there seems to be other players at work. Of course there are. There is always other players. But now I'm getting these pop up in my feed. Now remember what I said and I showed a while back. If you go to people you follow, you click that button and it shows you the feed. It shows you some of the people you follow. Then it shows you people you don't follow. Usually people that you might have blocked, or, well, not that you've blocked, but you have no interest in. Because Ben Shapiro shows up in my feed. Why would I want Ben Shapiro to show up in my feed? So I actually blocked him. This is my throwaway account, by the way. And so you have these people like Ben Shapiro. No one I follow has anything to do with Ben Shapiro whatsoever. There's a lot of 80s stuff, some news things here and there. But it's got nothing to do with Ben Shapiro, but it keeps on popping up in the feed. And it's among many other candidates, right, that show up. Now I have these people show up that are Lebanese journalists, and they are reporting on villages that have been destroyed and things of that nature. Now, I'm sympathetic to that, obviously. I'm anti-war I'm an anti-war type of person. I don't believe that constantly blowing up people's houses is a good negotiation tactic. That's Donald Trump's world, right? I'll go kill all these school children, and then I'm going to ask you to negotiate, right? I kill all these kids. And then I'm going to lie about it. That's his negotiation tactic, because, of course, he's a tough and strong leader. Look at him. He's so tough and strong. Is that a tough and strong leader? A great leader doesn't have to go kill kids, okay? A great leader can pick up a phone call and actually, make a deal with people, negotiate and talk to people. A great leader isn't walked around by a bunch of puppet strings everywhere. But I don't think it's solely that. He's actually lives in his brain as a hall of mirrors with his own face in it. I don't think he has a personality. I don't think he has one. All this kind of bombastic, mean kind of like fodder that people use of him, and it's here and there's all these kind of weird and strange things about him. That's because he's like an alien, his thinking, right? You're not seeing a normal person. So anyway, I'm seeing these Lebanese journalists, which I'm not disagreeing with. It's fantastic that these places are getting airtime. But I realize this is by design in the Twitter feed. That something behind the scenes now is putting pressure, maybe in now releasing the stories and these kinds of things. Then it might put a little bit of pressure on Israel, a little bit. Right, and there's these other things that are popping up that are as well. So that's what I'm seeing in the feed, which I've never seen before. Now, you'll see this if you follow people like that. But what I'm saying is I don't see it in my feed. It's not like I'm looking for Lebanese bomb footage all the time. I can't do that because this wouldn't be much of a life for me. I've done all my... In the Iraq War, I did all my, going and taking video footage from websites and stuff and arguing in forums for like a year, 2 years, and that is enough for me, right? A lot of the people, it's just politely, I'd argue politely. So here is Rand Paul. Rand Paul says he's going to Fort Knox. Let's let him explain it here in his video. I don't have the video, it doesn't matter, you can go look at it. Basically says he's going to Fort Knox, he'll provide updates, they're going to take a look at the gold, and you think to yourself, what does that even mean? Anybody can fill walls of things that look like gold. Even you can get gold bars that have a gold plated on the outside, so they'll withstand just surface testing, and in the inside they're just a bunch of lead. This is all meaningless, of course, as people say in the comment section. The issue with going to see the gold is that it could be a room of tungsten bars with real gold wrappers, basically what I said. With Bitcoin, we can know for sure what's held as it's audited by a global network. So you can test the bars, of course, what you would do. And then just show some bars there, which are basically gold plated, but with tungsten inside. You can drill into it. Like if you took that into a pawn shop, they would probably want to drill inside the bar if it's that big, right? They're really going to, they might have to do some damage to that particular bar in order to check it. Although obviously, if you give your ID over and you sell this, and it turns out to be fake, then you're involved in fraud, basically. So there is that. But if you wanted to check it, you drill into the bar. Drill into it in a few different ways to check that it's real. Otherwise, you've got, by the plating, what is that of a gold bar? Maybe like one, let's say, being kind, 5% of the gold bar, maybe, right? So 5% of the gold supply in there is the only gold. The rest is fabrication. Not that you're going to go deep within whatever carts they've got holding the gold or the shelves or whatever. They'd have to be pretty strong. Gold is extremely heavy. But whatever they've got in there, it's not like they're changing the density towards the middle. I think the people that audit it are obviously in on it, because if you're doing that, everybody's involved, even at like state, federal, kind of whatever level, right? They're all involved in it if you've got that in there. So he's been taken in there to take a look. I'm not saying all the gold's missing, but I don't think there's any gold in there. Just like in England, right? I think the gold supplies of the West have been looted and they're gone. Okay, so to our next story here, which comes down to AI. So Meta just, this is the headline, picked a side in the debate over the future of AI, releasing an open source model. Now, why would Meta ever do that? Meta has no interest whatsoever in caring about these things, not unless, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg's, got on a visit by the, what do you call him, the Christmas ghost or whatever in Scrooge. Or the ghost of, what is it, times past or whatever it is. No, they're releasing this because they've got a massive problem. The massive problem is cheap AI models such as the one I'm using, DeepSeek Flash. On the weekend, we had 2 times usage from OpenGo, not that I ever use that up. And I am amazed at the amount of usage you can get out of that. And when you look at how much usage you've used on your account, it's nothing. Nothing. I could use it all day long and I might get to 2%, 1% of usage. Right, and I've got that over a month. I just wouldn't be able to get through it. So people running agents and things like that are all on, DeepSeek Flash now, or running them locally. But the point is they're so cheap. I use it to ask it questions. I use it to fix computer problems. I use it to clip the videos, and put them up on the Clown News. What, I can't even remember the name of it. Clown News Fellowship. Or the World Clown News Fellowship, or Clown World News Fellowship. That's it, Clown World News Fellowship, which is an awkward title, actually. I wish maybe I'd rename it eventually, but not right now. I don't want to make everyone go crazy trying to find it. But it was just something quasi-original. Not really. Now I look at all the channels that are called Clown World News, but these models are extremely cheap, and AI in the United States and the world is in a gigantic bubble. I can't even believe they're talking about data centers here in New Zealand. What do we need them for? What do we need a data center for? What we need is infrastructures that produce cheap RAM and parts, right? That are for the community, right? That's what we need. We need stuff that we can build our own local models. RAM is exponentially expensive. Now I know you can't just stage that and say, hey, I want you guys to start building RAM. This isn't going to happen because New Zealand doesn't have that intellectual ability, doesn't have that intellectual capital to do that. You'd have to go over to Korea. And, they can make, it's a market, so they can make this amount of RAM, and if they sell it, they make like 10 times more to the state. It's not going to happen. So I understand the naive nature of what I'm saying, but that is like what we need, right? We need cheap RAM. I don't know how that'll come about. Probably when the AI bubble bursts quite extraordinarily soon, and that's the problem. You have places like, I don't know, Claude, Fable 5, and I'm not saying Claude isn't useful. I thought it was very useful when I was doing, editing, revisions and stuff like that. I could get it to find maybe things that didn't make sense, get it to scan a chapter, and it'll say, hey, back in such and such year, they didn't have like whatever. It actually wasn't very good at catching that. It's like blind to that, actually. That's a bad example. But, I could ask it a question about, something in the chapter and it'd be useful to give an opinion, which as a writer who's been writing for like 30 years, I guess, I never had that ability before. I'd have to go to a writing workshop, at which a writing workshop, as someone that's done numerous workshops, I can tell you this, no one at a writing workshop, only about 1 out of 10, I think, actually reads the material in any depth. Everyone skims it before the workshop of that morning, or maybe a half hour before, just so they can answer some question about it, but they don't read it. And even if they read it, they're going to give you a biased opinion. People don't like to talk about the fact is when you go to a writing workshop, you have to go through this introductory phase of getting to know people. That takes 3-4 weeks, months. Okay. At that point, when you're just a bunch of strangers, people treat you completely differently, right? What you look like, how tall you are, how, if you got your credential before you enter there, is this a possible friend I could have long term? It's all just jockeying for social positions and hierarchy. At that point, you don't get any feedback whatsoever. It's a gigantic waste of time. But there is other things about workshops which I could talk about, which are the real problem for workshop is demoralization of a writer. A writer needs to enjoy what they're doing. The moment they do not enjoy what they're doing because you've dumped all this negative feedback on them, the moment that happens, they don't feel like writing. The spark goes out. Now, I got pretty good feedback, but I actually had an agent at the time I was doing these workshops, right? So I had this validation. I actually had an agent in New York, actually, which was, you would say, a top flight agent. So there you can see in the far away past, there's opportunities which I in hindsight, I didn't take advantage of because I didn't keep on writing. I stopped writing for a long period of time, which you're no use to an agent when you do that. Although my agent actually retired. So he went into the sunset because he was quite elderly. But nonetheless, that's the world, right? So here you have by the way, just talking to the AI, and this is just for the clip, all that ramble, just clip that out about all writing and stuff. It's irrelevant. Okay. So I used to have to make notes to my future self. Now I just tell the AI is going to run a transcript of this and edit it. So here is Unsloth AI, and this is where they take models and basically improve them by using this Unsloth. I looked into it, I can't remember the exact nature of it, but Muse Glimmer was released by Meta. Now this is an open source model. Why are they releasing it? As I said, did Mark Zuckerberg have a visit from the Christmas ghost of the past, or whatever it's called? It's been so long since I've read A Christmas Carol. But anyway, or watched the numerous versions of it. But did he suddenly grow, a heart or something, go off to see Oz and get a heart? Well, no. The problem is that these Chinese models are super cheap, right? So to keep them within the US ecosystem, even the user, which they want to do, and not just be completely sold off to constantly cheerleading for China's cheap models, its open source models, which is giving away, obviously to try to pop the AI bubble, which is a bubble owned by oligarchs, crypto fascists, so why would I care anyway? But the narrative is China is doing this. What, I want to prop up Mark Zuckerberg because he's got like a can out there and needs a couple of coins for his mega yacht? I don't care. What? So you can build AI data centers all over the world and then sweep off everyone's data and close them in some kind of like dystopic reality? Yeah, we should really support that. Open source all the way. I don't care where it comes from. If a tool is a tool. If you need hammers and someone's handing you a hammer, I have no problem in using that hammer. And right now, DeepSeek is great and extremely cheap. Pretty much nothing in comparison to what these big models are. So they are releasing Muse, Glimmer, or these other ones, trying to keep them inside this ecosystem, right? trying to keep them like, okay, yeah, well, we can release these models too. They want to try to get that going. I think because what they want to do is make this argument. The argument they want to make is the argument for banning Chinese models. You can already see a lot of them talk about the problem with open source. Actually, Claude talking about that, the problem with open source. Can you believe it? After siphoning off everyone's data to train on, they have a problem in the people that they took the data from having their own AI models. But they want to try to create a system in which there's mass regulation to the point of basically putting a tourniquet on these models in China, which won't work because people just go use the exact same model, which, in Malaysia, or a model that is wherever, because these are released via the internet, so you can just replicate them, right? And then you can run them out of a different country. So it's not going to work unless you want to ban the world. But what they want to do is they want to create enough US examples of these particular models that you can run on your machine to kind of drain a little bit of that away from China in the long run. When they start banning, the only ones you're going to use are these kind of US open source models, which, came out of Meta or whatever, that will be a certain type of level forever. Once they get control of the system, they'll lock out any development of these. You watch, and that is what I think is happening. So obviously this is a soft attack on the models there coming out of China, which are hugely successful. The Chinese, they've given us many gifts that our own countries have never given us, and that is these models. Great gifts there from China. And I'm thankful for where the bread is delivered. So I don't hate any country. I want to get along with every country. What we need to do is stop, as everyone says, and I know someone say, well, go join a hippie commune. Look, we need to get along with these other countries. Too much of our energy is wasted with this junk of, conflict and war. So you borrow some money from a bunch of international bankers, right? The banking cartels who constantly get rich by siphoning off the cream of chaos, right? Chaos creates the cream which they drink. They need constantly blood and chaos so they can operate from that. Chris Martinson putting this down and regarding the AI bubble itself, it says, hands down, this is the best description of the AI bubble and why it will inevitably bust, but not for the reasons you're probably thinking of. So I'm just going to play the beginning, and I'm also going to play this at, I don't have it, so I can't play it. Let me just see if I can get a copy of it. Well, unfortunately, the video is broken, so I can't play it. But I will say it just basically mimicked everything that people are saying, but what he pointed out is in the United States, the problem is that a lot of people's retirement funds now, about 50% of them are invested in these data centers and AI. So when this goes bust, it's going to cost them at home and regarding their retirement funds, which of course are put into these big massive funds, which are then these places invest in a lot of different places. And this was one of the things that a lot of people are not talking about, how much money is tied up in this big massive AI bubble, which there is no way that it can survive. The reason why it can't survive is it's literally not making any money, okay? And it isn't predicted to ever make any money. People say 2030, but what Michael Berry said, Dr. Michael Berry, of course, is the person that was in The Big Short, or at least who it was based on. He has shorted these particular companies because the infrastructure that they're using now is going to have to be upgraded constantly with the AI system. So you run into this kind of exponential growth curve that cannot be serviced because of that, right? And this means it'll never make money. By the time you get to 2030, you have to update all of these systems, right, to be competitive, which have already cost you insane amounts of money. So that was the major problem that he said. And of course, I'm simplifying there. But the problem is a lot of these funds for people that are retired inside the United States, they've taken this money and they've invested it into this massive AI bubble that's going to blow up. Here's an example. DGX Sparks solved by NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's taken the position, it looks like, where they can see the market opportunity in developing systems where they are going to sell AI on those systems, or systems that can service local AI. And what they're putting out is these things called DGX Sparks, which is just basically, think of a mini computer. 2 of those mini computers, and they're not cheap, right? You're paying about $10,000 each, so a lot, right? A lot for an individual, a lot of money, right? So 20, a lot of money. Hopefully their price comes down quite considerably when this AI bubble pops. Then everyone might be able to have one. Maybe they'll only be like $1,000, because right now everything is hyperinflated, right? Maybe they're $500 then when this AI bubble bursts. Can you imagine how much RAM will be on the market when they start tearing apart those data centers? So, which Donald Trump, by the way, says no one should argue against the data centers, including this couple that was on the news where they're having their family home of like 50 years taken away from them to put a data center on against their will by eminent domain in the States, right? Now, so you have 2 times DGX Sparks there running at 150 tokens per second. That's really, really fast. Usually you get like 20, 50 tokens a second over cloud or whatever. Like, it depends upon your system and who you're with, obviously. But that's fast enough for me. I mean, I don't need anything faster than that. I can't read faster than that. I don't need anything faster. Some people might. If you're putting out like huge volumes of text for some reason, you might need it faster. But 2 of those, which run about $20,000 US, last time I looked anyway, can run DeepSeek for version 4 Flash, which was what I run. Which, if I could run that on 2 of those, that's anything I'd ever need. I don't need anything more sophisticated. Now, people that are running, making like, for instance, what I can do with that, I made an app the other day, which was a time blocking app, and it did it almost in one shot. It still has teething problems, like it's not as sophisticated. When I tried to plug in, an API key from, Alama, which is just under the free tier. I can't remember actually, was it from them? I can't remember where it was from. But it was just testing, saying it might have been open code Go, actually. That's where I'm with. And it didn't work. Okay, that broke down a little bit. But if I fiddled with it, I think I could get it working, no problem. But it can write stuff, like it can answer any question I want. It can like do anything. Go search the internet. If I want to download a YouTube video, because I want to play it in here, I want to play it. I used to have to go on the internet and go use these stupid software, or use the Linux equivalent, which was, there's a number of them, but they all have this kind of thing where they're trying to sell you an upgrade to the software. For instance, for some reason, that space and YouTube downloading on Linux is really it's got a lot of it's got an ecosystem which is completely filled with you have to buy the more sophisticated version if you want a better quality or whatever the case is. Now, I don't know how it works because I've stopped using it, and I did have some other systems which were free, YouTube downloader and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, this is meaningless. If I just throw the link in on my open code, say just download that, it'll go download it for me. I'll just use whatever tools. If the tool doesn't work, they'll get a new tool. I mean, how easy is that? I mean, it's crazy. If I point it in the direction of like an external drive and I say, hey, can you help me fix my file system and relabel it all cleanly, and let's get some directories going so we can sort through this, it can do it all, right? That's how useful it is when you have it installed locally. And obviously, I get the API key from the internet, so the AI is coming from the internet, and it is a Chinese model. But these Chinese models can do all this, and if you had like $20,000 worth of equipment, which is it's crazy, and if you costed it out, it wouldn't make sense because you're paying like, what do I pay? Well, you're paying $10 US for huge amounts, right, through OpenCo open code Go costs me $10 a month US, and I get huge amounts of usage over the month. So what is that a month? That's $100, $120 a year. So in order for your $20,000 investment to make sense, you would have to have that for literally many years, right? It's 100, was 10 years, it's 1,000, right? So you'd have to have it for like 200 years, which doesn't make sense for anybody like me. That's why I don't have a DGX Spark. But if you need to really have control over that data, you're very sensitive to what's going over, the internet, and like, let's say you're doing something which has to do with very sensitive research, then yes, that would make sense, right? If you're asking it to go through your file system and look for specific files or reorder things on something that's very personalized, that makes sense if that's what you're paying for, privacy. But you can see it there. For that, you can just have your own unit. If you have a business, you'd obviously go in that direction. If it was like, I don't know, maybe it was you're a private investigator, maybe you're a doctor, maybe you have a hospital, that's what you'd do, right? You'd have that running some kind of system, maybe a record system or something like that. Actually, I learned something very interesting today, which I celebrated. France has banned Windows. Does anybody know that? At least at the governmental level, it's banned it. Which makes sense, because every time there's a new Windows upgrade, especially like Windows 11, which requires a specific type of chip on your system, which you can bypass if you use Rufus, you can just get around it. Everyone knows that now. But so you don't need to throw away your computer. But Microsoft wanted you to throw away your computer and get a new one. Sooner or later, you just say, nah. And what's driving that, though, with France is they realized how dependent they were on US systems, right, via the tariffs and things like this. This is where the tariff lord, Donald Trump, is just so amazing for your relationships with companies, US companies worldwide. It's just so amazing. He's such a great deal maker. For himself, I mean, he increased his wealth to the tune of like, 60% in just one term. It was like, no, it wasn't 60%, it was 3 times. So 300% he increased his wealth in the first few months of this second term. Amazing. Over 60 years it took him to accumulate wealth, but when he became president, he increased it by, 300% or something. So they're saying, why can't you be more like China? Here's China on the AI front. Look at this. They're all use digital blackboards and stuff as a standard, apparently, for like 12-year-olds. Probably AI generated. I don't know. Just thought that was interesting. People passing that around. Okay, so now we get to the section of what? This. Just very quickly. I was looking at this. This is Demarco TV. Okay, and what they do is they walk the streets of Blackpool at night and they just film what's happening. And the place is it's like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. It's just people drunk out of their brains, fighting each other. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I used to work when I was at university. I got this night job as a security guard. Now, I have no security guard training. This is how I've told the story before. I walk in there, he goes, all right. He hands me a flashlight and then they take me to this building site where I have to stand in this cabin at night, right? This was one of the jobs. The other one was like at a Burger King. Okay. What am I supposed to do? No training, just an order. If something happens, just call the police, he says. Oh, do you have like a company cell? No, just use your own cell phone. I say, I don't have any credit on it. Like I don't have any credit on it. Because I didn't have any money back then. Nothing's changed. And he goes, okay, and he gives me his cell phone. It's so unorganized and ridiculous. It's like if you've read Bukowski's Postman, which is like, it's kind of a crazy. It's great. He's a great writer. It's really interesting, but it's kind of like that. I mean, I could write some of these tales down. I tell you. The clown world isn't exclusive to 2020 plus. But yeah, he hands me a flashlight. You know, I'm not a big guy. I'm like 5'8", right? I'm not a gigantic guy and build. Maybe in the 20s, I used to work out a bit, but at that particular time, I'm not like 6'9" or something. What am I supposed to do at Burger King? So stupid. Just call the police. I have no training whatsoever. None. Nothing. I don't even have a security. You needed a security guard license or something. He said, "Yeah, I'll put you on a training course in a month." Like, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any official capacity to anything. Of course, any member of the public can detain someone if they commit a crime. It's called a citizen's arrest. Most people don't know that. We were taught that later. But what a job, I tell you. That's. I used to go to this building site when they had me at the building site as well. And I would sit there. By the way, AI, you can, well, I suppose we'll leave this in this one, but I used to go to the building site, and the other guard who I was relieving would be asleep in their car. They spent the whole shift asleep. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of electronic equipment, and there was burglaries in the region where gangs were targeting places. He was asleep. No walkie-talkie, nothing. Just your own cell phone. Anything happens, call the police. Actually, I was wrong before, because when I said I didn't have any credit, I think you can ring emergency services like 911, but really they want you to tailor it to ring local, I think, which is the local police service directly, and just inform them what's happening so they can get a car out. But you could bypass the credit system because you can ring 911, which is the opposite, obviously, of the United States. Right? Sorry. In the United States, it's 911, emergency services, and here in New Zealand, it's 111. Anyway, by the way, AI, just cut out all that junk which I was talking about being a security guard. Let's start again. This is redundant. This is the stuff you get in a long video. So this is Demarco TV, which I'm watching, says, please shut down Blackpool after this video. So this person goes round Blackpool. He just shows you what's happening at night, and with everyone just drunk out of their skulls, and just looking for fights. Everyone's fighting with everyone. That's why I say it's like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. It reminds me of the old paintings by, I can't remember his name, but he did stuff on what's his name? He used to do a lot of paintings. Regarding Gin Street in London, which was a notorious street where everyone was drunk out of their skulls back in, the Regency times, while the people went around in their pumpkin carts, their big carriages with their gold knobs, or the aristocracy. These people were plastered out. I think his name was Hogworth. Is that his name? Someone have to look it up. But he's an artist, and he is most well known for painting Gin Street, right? You can see some of the paintings there. I think his name's Hogworth Gin Street. If you want to go look it up, I'll have a look. We'll just type it in here. I think it was Hogworth. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, it was William Hogworth, and it was Gin Lane, famous engravings showing the horrors of London gin craze, where mothers fed gin to babies and people starved. It was made into a pier with Beer Street, which praised beer drinking as healthy, while Gin Lane warned gin was destroying society. It was just the hard liquor. Gin Lane, I guess it was. And this is like Gin Lane, right? It's like this, it's just out of control. So if you ever go see anything, I mean, I couldn't even blow up. And there's other one, there's this loads of these channels. One does a part of London, one does Blackpool, one does, whatever, right? They do different parts of, not the UK, different parts of England. And It is crazy, man. The police largely just go from one arrest to the other. Here you have people dressed in wigs, okay, like getting into a fight. I never seen anything like it. And like what I was saying before, that the AI will cut it out, was when I was a security guard, like I'd walk down the streets, you know, and I had a night job at one stage as well. I never seen, like, there were people drunk in the cities I was in, various cities where I have worked, but they were drunk, right? And you'd see someone yelling down the road, you know, or this. And even the town I grew up in, which was like pub after pub after pub, was an old gold mining ghost town, really. It was that one part. You'd walk down the street and it'd be antique store, empty store, antique store, second-hand store. You get the picture. Everyone like just getting rid of everything before they leave. And then, you know, like fish and chip store, liquor store, pub, liquor store. You know, it was all the symbology in terms of economically of a town dying. Not quite dead, but now it's been gentrified, but that's 40 years later, right? Or 30 something years later since I've been back there, maybe 35 years. I don't know, since I've been there, I can't remember. 30 years, I think, actually 30 years. But I never seen anything like this in my life, right? And everyone was drunk in the town at night time I lived in. Everyone was in the pub. They're all drunk. They start drinking in the afternoon. I'm no stranger to being around people drunk all the time. Walking down the street, everyone is like, there's someone yelling down there, F you, you know, a couple of people, and then it's over, or some people in a fight, maybe. I see a lot of fights out on the street, actually, but a lot of people drunk. This is just something, just like it harkens back to those old paintings like Gin Lane or something. And I'm not saying it's the alcohol. Like I said, when I was growing up, those people were all drunk in the streets, in the pubs. They weren't out brawling and fighting each other like, you know, in gangs in New York or something. That's what this is like. And the person filming on it's clearly getting off on it. He loves it, you know. The rise in violence, you know, it's not just men too. Women are like down there. I mean, these two women are fighting. There's another one that's fighting. There's the fighting. This is Blackpool. I don't watch all of his videos. Watched one here. There's a fight. There's a fight. I don't need to. Okay, it's so in the morning, early mornings, after the nights of drinking, they're having a fight. Like, you know, like if you go out there once a week and you're catching fights continuously, or once every few days, every night. I mean, the whole video. There's a fight there. And there's another fight there, and then just continuously, you know that this place has a significant problem. Now, Blackpool is suffering economically. It's classically, you know, was the place that people used to go for vacations, you know, with all the what you'd say was a fair kind of atmosphere with the lights and the rides and things like that. It's faded quite significantly. Even from the last video I seen of Blackpool, well, it was actually in Notes from a Small Island, which I love that TV series by, I've forgotten his name, but I really loved it. I've actually got it on VHS tape. I got a VHS tape, which was a dub from a DVD, and then I bought the real thing, which was, you know, the official VHS tape, Notes from a Small Island. What's his name? Richard? No, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but everyone knows his name. He's like he used to be Canadian, but he moved to England in, I think, the 1980s. And he fell in love with it. And one of the places he goes was Blackpool, and he talks about the slow, easy atmosphere. But this is from early 2000s. Might be late 90s, actually. But look at it. It's out of control, right? People just fighting. I'm not saying this is unique to world history. By the way, everyone just proving how tough and strong they are. Like, you know, I'm the strongest. No, I'm the strongest. No, I'm the strong. Now listen to me, I'm the strongest. What is that? I mean, where do you get to with that? You got to think of it like long term. Where do you get to? Like, there's always someone strongest. It's not impressive for somebody else to beat somebody else up. And then what does that prove? I mean, I could get a gun. You can get guns and shoot people. You can use explosives. You could use poison in order to harm people as well. I mean, the architecture of destroying another human being is probably the most documented throughout time in terms of human beings, right? There's a trillion ways to destroy you. It beat me up in the street. Okay, when I put cyanide in your food next time. I'm not saying that you are raised to that level, but these are the capabilities of humans have, right? For violence, destruction, right? You can get like people can make cyanide out of apple seeds, right? You can make, it's not complicated in order to make weapons of destruction for other human beings. The reason is what is this? It's just endless destruction and chaos and harm. Try building something, right? Try building like a community garden or something, or increasing you used to be able to make that argument, but I don't think you can actually make an argument. I mean, even if you took the people from Blackpool and you said, hey, let's make a community, they'll burn it down. They have no interest. I mean, when society falls, these people will no problem breaking into your house and stealing everything you have. No problem at all. Okay. You might say, oh, well, you don't know somebody. It's true, you don't know what somebody would be like, but there are warning signs. If someone's biting someone's eye, like in that video, which I'm not playing here, but I can't play, I don't have it. But in these screenshots, if somebody's like biting someone's forehead or something, just constantly fighting and damaging people, probably going to import that into your community. You want people that actually, when you meet them, there are people, a lot of people like this, like they actually have almost like a warm glow about them because they're a good person, right? Yeah. And you know that they aren't going to like eat your baby. By the way, they're going on about Rachel Ray again. They're saying Rachel Ray made millions of dollars from a bubbly personality. 2 million views, right? That's what I'm talking about. Not because it has 2,000, 2 million. And all the comments were like, look at her, look how old she's gotten. Look, 30 years later, look how old she is. Like, people don't get old, right? She looks fine. She's alive, isn't she? Plus, she's not even dolled up. I mean, on one side, she's dolled up for like a photo shoot for, I don't know, Home and Garden or whatever it is, or whatever food magazine. The other one, she's sitting at her counter, staring off and probably getting something like, it's like his sister took a photo and put it on like Facebook or something. But these two photos are the same, everybody. Look at her. My suspicion is, apart from obviously weighing a little bit more, if she dolled herself up and you had a professional photo shoot, people will be saying, wow, look how good she is and look how well she's aged. Why? Because she's put on makeup now. I mean, these people are so like, it's like so two-dimensional. Her bubbly personality and mediocre cooking. She devoted her life to animals and making money. She never had children. She looks extremely unhealthy, and I'm assuming she is extremely unhappy as well. Hollywood always finds a way to make you pay. That sounds like a nice person. Where's she from? America? And I don't know the other flag. It's whatever. I don't know that flag. Well, that's what she's got there. Whether she's from there, I don't know. But she's going, look at her. Look how old she is. And there is Rachel Ray with her cooking. A lot of these celebrity chefs made, in the early 2000s, it was just about being young and being able to follow a recipe on video, really. It's like Jamie Oliver, the Naked Chef. He was quite famous. Apparently he makes good food, though. I think he tried to revamp the school system and say something. Remember that? He had that chicken nugget thing where he got all the... First of all, he had the students right there, and he was saying, oh, look, this is what's in a chicken nugget. And he blends up this chicken, and then he puts in like, I don't know, can't remember, like breadcrumbs or something. And then Jamie Oliver says to students, which would you rather have? You know, like, look what's in a chicken nugget, and they all wanted the chicken nuggets. Of course they did. They want the protein, right? By the way, just update on mine. I was still going with my semi-carnivore diet, but I keep on like, I tried sourdough the other day, and I'm trying to like subtly feel like which things improve and which don't. But I will tell you this, I don't feel as good. I haven't been as clean on it, and I'm going to be clean this week and try like being extremely clean. That is just having pumpkin and red meat instead of like the chicken and stuff. I have to wait until payday for that, but the thing about it is that, do I feel better than a plant-based diet? No. After 4 months, I haven't got the 4-month mark, but I would say it's just not going to happen. Plant-based diet, I felt the best in my life. Like I remember, as I said, I was sitting there and going, wow, it's like every day I wake up now, I feel the best. I can't believe how good I feel. Now, how often do people have that? I had it all the time, which means my body is really probably... Now, I'm saying in the plant-based diet, it's true that I probably was burning up all the, maybe all the good stuff that I got from meat, because I've always been a meat eater prior to that. But I could always go plant-based diet maybe with like, I don't know, a little bit of meat, and then I might be able to feel fantastic. But I don't know. I think there's something on a spiritual level that's happening. I think that animals and the adrenaline that's in them or something like you're inheriting their spirit or something. So there she is. There's Rachel Ray. Look at her. Look how old she is. She's wearing glasses. And she's dyed her hair. Yeah, she is older, but I mean, she's 60 years old now, so what do you want? And she's not even dolled up. As I said, she's looking probably... Looks like she's looking at the TV. Here comes your sister or someone to sneak a photo of you to put on the socials. She must really love that, because this isn't a sanctioned photo. No one like says, hey, can I take your photo for Facebook, auntie? And she goes, yeah, okay, wait on, let me just put a comb through my hair. No, this is an unsanctioned photo. Okay, so next story, Martha Reeves here, who of course did the national anthem, came out to defend herself. So everyone said it was the worst national anthem of all time. And as I said, it was a demoralization and humiliation ritual, really. But here she is coming that the lineup changed, and that's the reason for her bad singing. In fact, what I think happened is they knew that she was singing bad. They ran it anyway, which is important, when they could have said to her, listen, something's wrong with your voice, and we just have to be clear about this. We're going to put on these 2 backup singers. They're going to sing the national anthem. And we're going to put you on the sidelines this time, but we'll have you back, or whatever they want to couch it in, right? That's not what they did. They put those 2 singers with her, probably to hide a little bit of her voice, I don't know. But to put her on was, in my opinion, a massive humiliation ritual. Let's take a look at what she had to say here, because she came out in defense of herself, citing a conspiracy. Which there was a conspiracy, I think, but it was in the reverse.
Didn't see those girls until the music was no music. There was no music. I didn't see them until actually I started singing, and I turned around. Somebody put them there. Who did that? They'll say was that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Didn't see those.
So obviously she's trying to show that she can sing there, but she can't. I think something's happened to her ears, or maybe she's become tone deaf or whatever. She technically has the knowledge to do it, right? But she's not performing, but she actually thinks when she does that, it's good. Look, we all get older. And one of the things is, when it comes to physical capabilities, as we age, we lose those. Our voice, our strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger's not going to look like, Conan Arnold Schwarzenegger. So if it comes down to physical things, and it's not like, I don't know, philosophy or mathematics, you can see the errors in it easily for multiple different reasons. Mathematics is obviously calculable, so you can see that. Whereas, there's a level of expertise needed to see the calculable errors within, some kind of math equation, right? Which is very few people can actually see error. Whereas in this, everyone knows what music is, so you can see error easily. So that's why, you know, you see that natural decay more often, at least there. I mean, she just doesn't have the chops.
Spangled banner yet wave.
I must say she looks excellent for 85, though. She looks great. I mean, she's moving, she's free, she looks good. I don't even think what she's wearing is a wig, is it? It's hard to say. It might be. I mean, everyone loses their hair. Looks like she's, that looks like a real hair. The reason I say that is because if you look at her hair down there, is that some kind of, I mean, you can get a net or something, right, that you put wigs on. A lot of people wear wigs, obviously, when they're older, but it might not even be a wig. It might be a wig, actually. I don't know what it is. How would I know? But you can see her, like you see here, her hair as if, you know, like it's like, I don't know, maybe it is a wig. Must be a wig, right? Whatever. She's looking good, though. She's looking healthy. But she just doesn't have the chops anymore, right? Done some great songs, though, from what I read of her Wikipedia. I've yet to listen to some of them. Wow, we're up to 1 hour and 36 minutes. That's crazy, and I haven't even got to this. Okay, so let's go through what I watched quickly. I think other stuff, I'll skip that for next video. We'll keep this all for next video. I'll just play this one with the car. That'll be it. Because up to 1 hour 36. It's a bit long. So what did I watch? I watched Shin Godzilla. Well, actually, I watched nearly most of it. I watched it in like sections. I thought it was, you know, like I'm not like a big Godzilla person. But I did watch the 1989 one, 1998 one recently, so I thought I'd watch this one here. I thought it was well done. I thought the CGI in the monster was excellent. But it's basically what it is. What I was impressed by is their ability to give it distance, right? Like they can show the Godzilla in the distance over the city. And you see a lot of this with anime. If you've seen One Punch Man or a lot of Japanese stuff contains large monsters blowing up cities. Some people say this is because you know, the psyche of the people is reliving the experience from the firebombing and if you believe in it, the nuclear bombs and stuff like that. I'm not saying they're not real. I'm just saying, you know, you do more research on that, but that they're still working through the trauma of that, the collected unspoken trauma of that, you know, which they were bombed by the Americans. And of course, the first time and only time apparently atomic bombs have been used on a populace, and they're still working at being an occupied country, right? At that point, disarmed, you know, their honor broken, and they're working through the trauma of that largely through these monster characters as an avenue in order to talk about it, relive it, and understand it. You know, where the Godzilla comes and destroys the buildings, or the One Punch Man and he battles someone and blows up all the buildings. And, you know, I could go on about Japanese anime and doing that, but this is one thing I liked about it, was the distance from the creature, you know, being able to show it at a distance, walking through the city and not feel a need to follow it, you know, like on a camera on its back the entire time. You're like in Hollywood, you can like look at every, you know, you can look at it as a distance, like we're seeing it as the people. And yes, it would go up close to it now and then, but it was very reserved, and the way it treated the monster was very good so far. I don't know how it ends because I haven't seen the ending yet. But that's what I'm watching at the moment. And that was on the heels of this, which was Godzilla from 1998, which is it's an abysmal movie. I wouldn't say it was abysmal. It's okay. I shouldn't say it's abysmal. I did think that, well, I isn't something I think's particularly good, but I would say this about it. I think it's an hour too long. Okay, this particular, it's about 2.5 hours, and it feels like an hour too long, but it's okay. I do like Matthew Broderick. Like I said, I like seeing him and stuff. He's got a certain charisma to him. He's good in this, but yeah, it's about an hour too long, and the CGI of the monster's not particularly very good, but it's late 90s, so not expecting it to be very good. But it's one of those cases where they'd have been better off using a puppet. You know, like Jim Henson workshop kind of stuff or whatever, right? It's the CGI, as everyone knows, CGI in the 90s, although when we were in the 90s looking at it, we thought it was incredible. Remember that? Anybody in the 90s were looking at it, go, wow, it's amazing. Now, there is amazing CGI, such as in Jurassic Park for the times, early 90s, but late 90s CGI, you know, is just, and this is a big budget movie too, was not particularly very good at all, actually. So yeah, no, it is what it is. I wouldn't, as I said, I'll take back Abysmal. It wasn't particularly, it was okay. It was an okay movie. It was probably, as I said, an hour too long. It had problems with the story. There was some really cool stuff, like when they have the actual physical hole there of the monster's feet. That was really cool. You know, kind of like the physicality. When they go for the physical over the CGI, it's always a win for me. I don't need to see CGI monster footprints. I don't need to see CGI like just for the sake of CGI, you know, like I understand it's cheaper, but this thing had cost a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah, so it's an interesting one. I also watched some of this stuff with Dr. Jonathan Reed's Alien Encounter and Examination, 1996. Restored video and photographs of him allegedly catching an alien, which a lot of people look at this and actually believe there's something to it because he's gone around and sold the story so well. And he was on Art Bell and all that, and apparently there's some kind of documented record of like the FBI taking his stuff or something. I haven't looked into it, so I can't go into that, but that was interesting. Something like that led me to watch this video. And is the video of an alien? Well, everything you see in the video, I could actually recreate, right? People say they see his mouth move or breathe because we don't see what's below that at this particular point. He could just, you know, have a plunger stuck up inside it moving, which is basically a rubber armature. I mean, if you see what Stan Winston does, someone with a brain who has an interest in special effects, who happens to be a doctor, maybe they like it and they're interested and they can't project it through this specific avenue of, you know, career path, but they can do it here in a hoax. I'm not saying it's a hoax. How would I even know? But I will say I'm down for something which looks realistic if you put enough effort into it, even if I know it's a hoax. It's kind of like a story. Like when I look at this, I think this person's telling a story, but are they doing it very good? Well, they're a doctor, right? So they're thinking of ways that make it look like something he might do. So apparently his dog got attacked or something. There was a dead alien. He wrapped it up in a space blanket, brought it home, and this video is straight after that happened. And it's got a creepy kind of Backrooms vibe to it. Okay, this is long before Backrooms, right? This is 90s hoax footage. This is how we used to do it. I'm not saying it's hoax. How would I know? So Jimmy Church actually interviewed him apparently on Dr. Jonathan Reed in August 2022. See, I'd be more interested in this than Bob Lazar. I don't even believe that Bob Lazar, personally, via his body language, I don't believe he's making up a hoax. I believe they took him in, the military, to see the flying saucer. Say, hey Bob, what do you think of this flying saucer? He's going, it's amazing. What did he say? The race car model. I can't remember what it's, sports car model, or whatever he said. That's amazing. Look, it's got all these alien symbols on it. Good, Bob. Now just look at it very carefully, and then, you know, by the way, and, you know, go talk to your friends and family about it. Yeah, that's right. I just believed it was a military psyop in order to, you know, they're being watched by the Russians, right? The Russians is listening to everything. It's a war of attrition, and, you know, if you can use up your opponent's resources investigating fake things, even if the Russians know it's fake, They have to investigate it, right, with their spies, using up their spycraft. It's costing you, what, 1 unit of resource to use up 5 units of resource of the opponents? You can win entire wars that way. Just getting all of their KGB agents to chase rabbit holes that don't exist. That's my opinion. Otherwise, why isn't he sitting at the bottom of a lake somewhere with concrete boots on? Why would they let him live? Why? If you have that much knowledge, why would you let anybody live? Philip Corso, I actually believe his accounts. If you read The Day After Roswell, it's a great book. Then I watched some Spike Milligan, actually. I was thinking to myself, if I watch Spike Milligan, because my dad, I remember he was at the dinner table and he told me something about Spike Milligan. I thought, I don't know who that is. He's one of the Goonies, he said. I think he said the Goonies or something. They used to listen to him on the radio. On the wireless. Anyway, so I was like, I thought, I have Spike Milligan, because I've heard about him, obviously. Now, was Spike Milligan the person that wrote Bad Jelly the Witch? Wait, I'll just have a look. I'll check here. I just asked it a question. Yes, okay, yeah. So Spike Milligan actually wrote Bad Jelly the Witch. The full titled Bad Jelly the Witch, a fairy story 1973, the children's story about Rose and Tim, who get lost in the forest and encounter the wicked witch Bad Jelly. Now, Bad Jelly the Witch is an old, distant memory, because I was in Catholic school when the nun read that to us in class. Right, about Bad Jelly the Witch. Well, I didn't know that was Spike Milligan. There goes connecting two worlds. But I was watching Spike Milligan. I hoped that I'd be entertained by Spike Milligan. But the video I seen here, none of the jokes worked for me. I was like listening to it. I didn't even understand what's happening. Now, I only watched 5 minutes of it. Why am I telling you about this? I don't know. I watched 5-10 minutes of it, but I was looking at it. I was hoping the jokes would land. I was looking for something like, I was hoping that whatever his sense of humor is that my dad liked, I liked as well. But mind you, my dad liked Open All Hours, Only Fools and Horses, which I like. Some Mothers Do Have Him, which I like. Most of the British stuff. I don't think I watched any American stuff when it came on. Like Three's Company. What else was there? My mother loved the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls, what else was there? Oh, there was so much great stuff in the 80s, wasn't there? There was so much great stuff. Actually, I have that other thing here, don't I? No, I don't have it here anymore. But anyway, I tried a bit of Spike Milligan. It didn't really land for me. I guess let's just keep on going. So apparently Laura Loomer loves her dog this much.
Like this, but dogs, because they're so haram. I would not let a
There is Randy Fine, who is a monstrous individual. There is Laura Loomer, who is the face of the Trump administration overseas
that my dog
and
put her tongue
everywhere,
in my
right?
mouth.
Laura Loomer.
So.
Now, I don't know if they've done something to her face to make it look larger. Apparently, people say she's had plastic surgery. But if you look at dog, you're basically, and there are probably some people listening to this that, I remember one movie, I think it was called Summer School, and it starred the guy that was in CSI Miami or something like that. And he has something in there. I remember we had a dog and it's like feeding it peanut butter and they like lick each other's lips or something. Look, dogs have hardcore parasites, okay? What they get up to is they have hardcore parasites, right? What they're up to with their nozzle, okay? Their muzzle. And if you're licking them like that, that's how people get parasites, like worms and their intestines and stuff like that. Okay, these are microscopic like types of parasites. But anyway, I just thought seeing that, and that was gross. But, the Trump administration and having her as a figurehead have not done themselves a favor. I mean, she's been in and out of mental asylums. It makes everything look unstable. For instance, here's one of her things. Laura Loomer looks more like the aftermath of a successful IDF mission in Gaza, showing this head blown apart. That's not actually a head, it's a prosthetic for YouTube, in case the AI is listening there. That is a prosthetic of a monster. That's what she had to say. What kind of person says those types of things? So these videos which people point to, they point to these ridiculous videos of people doing ridiculous stuff. I gotta admit, it's kind of like surreal, like Monty Python. But she has an upside down umbrella and she's eating like food out of it. Now clearly this person is doing this because it's so ridiculous it's going to get TikTok views, and that's where we are. We are in the carnival of, you know, monsters or something, and atrocities, and, you know, whatever it's called. But anyway, you have like just eating out of a banana.
Bitches, y'all ain't never saw a motherfucking umbrella spicy bowl.
They ain't never seen an umbrella spicy bowl before. What we doing? Hold on. I done my umbrella, Ella. Hold on, big girl, stick girl.
This is ridiculous.
Hold the fuck up. Okay, Mary Poppins Mary, what we thinking?
It's spicy. Got the right motherfucking sauce, and if y'all ain't shopping here with the watery ass bowls, y'all fucked up.
That area 10 way, the Midwest way. I ain't never seen an umbrella spicy bowl before. What we doing?
Bitch, get big back over here. Bitch, talking about they ain't gaining weight. This motherfucker right here.
And then she came prepared, baby. Is that a raincoat?
Yes. Oh.
It's raining?
Do you hear me? Under my this motherfucking heat.
Maybe she is eating out there. Maybe that's real. I don't know, first time seeing it, I thought it was ridiculous. So there's a conversation once again, this with this, I can't remember her name, something Shannon something. Anyway, she's talking about wheat.
I feel the same going to grocery stores actually here, because I only go over there. So when I come back here, I'm like, look at all these new products and new things I've never seen. Like, it's amazing.
There's like a million choices for everything.
Yeah.
You know, I just want salad dressing, and it's like, you know, do you want it, you know, with vodka in it? Like, we got that too.
Yeah.
It's just this bounty.
Yeah.
And it's all like so well organized and
colorful.
And you also
pretty.
understand why Americans are fat. Because there's like a giant section of cakes and shit and breads and you know, it's just
yeah, but the breads here, this is the problem. The breads here and the breads overseas are very different because of the flour.
Right.
Because like we take away the one protein in the flour that digests the gluten. Like, why are we taking that away? That's why we can't eat here.
That's why we do everything money. Because for some, I can't explain it to you, but for some reason it was cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, why is there only one kind of banana? There used to be many, many, many kinds of bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, the food situation. Now, Jeremy Renner talked about, I won't play the video, but he talked about the afterlife, because he doesn't really say anything that's not in here. And he talked about the afterlife, and when he died, he had an afterlife near-death experience. Now, this is a bit old, it's a few years old, but I thought it was interesting. I have been watching a lot of videos on the afterlife, and so many people, this whole entire channel is dedicated to people that died, that seen some type of afterlife. Now, you know, other people say, who are skeptical, will say that you know, the brain contains DMT, massive amounts of it have released when you do die. Though what would be the evolutionary type of reasoning behind that? But I don't believe that's ever been measured, so like, I'm not sure. You know, for instance, they would be able to measure that because they would be able to check the levels in blood samples of people that died, surely on release, that you, or the blood, or the, and you know, experiments in regarding, because they do that, they, you know, people that have given their bodies to science or whatever, when they die, they could check the DMT levels in the brain, whether that's higher, and you know, compare that to normalized DMT levels in the brain of the normal population, and see if there's increased DMT levels, or whatever the case is, whatever they do. I don't believe there's any evidence for that, because that is the claim that people say, massive amounts of DMT have been released. The experiences are kind of similar in some cases to DMT. You can see some of the similarities. I've read a bit about DMT and research into it. So there are the details of Jeremy Renner anyway. Described the state as an exhilarating place and a magnificent relief from physical pain and earthly burdens. He recounted experiencing a life review where time, place, and space ceased to exist, replaced by pure connection to a collective love and energy. Sounds beautiful. Oh well, let's just play it here. It's only a minute anyway.
It was me and my two neighbors I never met, and my nephew Alex there for the first half hour. They're on the phone call with 911, whatever, and they're trying to do everything they can to keep me alive. And I just got tired, and that's when I was gone. And then came back. And I was pissed about it. Like I saw my eyeball again. I'm like, oh, because it was so great. I'm like, oh, it was so great. I was having such a good time. And dying and coming back, it's like, all right, there's a different sort of, oh. Also, I got to see behind the curtains. You know, I know what happens. And like, it's super exciting, wonderfully peaceful, super electric, magnificent.
So one thing, if you look at the occult and the leadership and the way the society is structured, it does everything it can to hide the spiritual world from people or belief in it. Maybe you believe in it, maybe you don't, but it does do everything it can to hide that and crush that. Whether you believe in it or not, the spiritual realm, it does that to crush that and, you know, woo-woo it. Meanwhile, they believe in it. That's the most important thing. They believe in it heavily. The architecture of society, the sacred geometry, the occult symbolism, the ritualistic practices, everything they do is in reference to the existence of some type of spiritual realm or some type of energy system which they can harness. And American Cosmic, as that, you know, the lady that was in that book, that wrote that book that was on all the shows, she's an academic. She's also a religious scholar, religious study, Catholic, I believe. And she's been to the Vatican archive and that. She said that all the tech people all believe in a type of zeitgeist, you know, a type of matrices of information that they can spiritually tap into. She said they all believe in it. All the people in the rocket program believe in it. But the entire grey prison we live in is designed in order to get you never to look into it or believe in it at all. That even if it wasn't real, they wouldn't want you to believe it just in terms of an on slave level, right? On a slave level, because they want you to concentrate only on physical things that you can acquire, not spiritual things that you can acquire. They want you to think about how you can build physical things around you, little walls or gardens or houses. They don't want to think what the building blocks of increasing your, your knowledge or wisdom or spiritual outlook are. So here we go. Here is what happens. Wow, we're up to 2 hours. Here is what happens. This person here is this car is not theirs. This Rolls Royce. I believe this is a modern Rolls Royce. It could be mistaken. Some kind of very expensive car. They've come out here and they've said, "This is my car," and now there's a lady in there and they want to get into it. It's the outcome. There's a police officer standing right there. I don't know. Is that a police officer or is that just a guard? I don't know. But either way, it doesn't go well for them. Saying, get away from here. Oh, yeah, it's police. It's just straight up tasers and this other guy comes in. Oh no, this is the police. Maybe it's I suppose tasers do work, don't they? They just don't work on everyone.
Oh,
I have this video here because I was going to show you the difference between US police and police in the UK. The police in the UK were running around trying to chase this guy. Although they'd probably catch him because he's quite a big man. But they were running around this car trying to chase this person just in a circle.
Yes,
and I wanted to play this clown world music when they were doing it. That would have been perfect. Okay, so couple of other videos here. First of all, LED light.
So these type of lights quite possibly are killing you. And I'm gonna put a clip here from the Huberman Lab podcast, a researcher he recently had on looking at animal models. And it's crazy what he said, but here's the clip.
I am very concerned about the amount of short wavelength light that people are exposed to nowadays, especially kids.
This is an issue on the same level as asbestos. This is a public health issue and it's big. The light found in LEDs, when we use them, certainly when we use them on the retina looking at mice, we can watch the mitochondria gently go downhill. Their membrane potentials are coming down. The mitochondria are not breathing very well.
Isn't that insane, guys? A health crisis on the order of asbestos, these LED lights. If they're actually harming the mitochondria in animals, they're probably harming the mitochondria in humans as well because of this imbalanced light. You think this is crazy? You think I'm a nut job? But this is actually harmful junk food light. Now let's test the flicker.
Yeah, so we're not done when we're just talking about the actual light spectrum. We need to look at the actual light delivery, and flicker is something that is a huge problem. So it's kind of hard to see, but this is actually the waveform of the light output. And the flicker percentage here at 120 hertz is a result of our electrical power grid, which is at 60 hertz. And that's causing the light, the LED light, to flicker on and off. So it's literally turning on and off at a rate that we can't see, but our brain, our eyes, our nervous system can perceive, and it's very activating to our nervous system in a negative way. It can cause eye strain, headaches, migraines, anxiety. And you'll see a slow motion video of this. It really drives it home at how crazy this is, that we're sitting under all of these lights all day long, and we basically have no idea. And what do we know, Paul? At the end of the workday, what do people feel like? They feel drained, they feel tired, they have a headache, they need 3 to 4 cups of coffee just to get through the day. And I really think it's a combination of the imbalanced light spectrum that's being delivered in a high flicker manner that is causing this chronic fatigue.
So, you know, this is more for people in New Zealand, because in the United States, you can still get incandescent light bulbs, so you can deck out your house with them, no problem at all. If you are in the United States, what you want to do, so if you're in New Zealand or places that have banned incandescent light bulbs for home use, great going, amazing, just safe and effective, brilliant, brilliant. Just like folic acid in the bread, right? Great. Don't just put it on some brands that people want to buy. No, put it in everything. So what you want to do is you want to get the light bulbs that you get in stoves, and you can get lanterns or lamps that will take those light bulbs, so you can still get an incandescent light in your house, which is beside you, as I've got one in a little lamp, and I only use that at night. I don't use any other LED lights. I mean, I have LED lights if I have to use them, but I never turn them on, basically. You know, it'll have to be like, I mean, I have an LED light that comes on, you know, like in the kitchen at night, it'll turn on, but that's only so I can see and I don't trip over anything or something, right? I can see it, and then I can just go in there and then, you know, make a cup of tea or something, turn on the other light and make it. I mean, yes, I guess I'm exposed to a fluorescent in that sense because there's a fluorescent light in the ceiling, which is just as bad in my opinion. Not as bad as LED lights, but fluorescents can, you know, they're not particularly that good. But yeah, but when I'm working or doing anything, I've just got an incandescent light, which is nice and warm yellow. And also, I mean, if you don't have one of those, you can just get candles. Right, just get a candle. People say, oh, the fumes off candles. Okay, well, just get a lantern. You can actually buy lanterns that have like you know, people say they're dangerous, like a kerosene lantern or whatever, or alcohol lanterns. But I mean, you know, if you're not a child, if you haven't got little children around, they're not so much. But if you've got children, yes, they are dangerous. Right? They can be dangerous. Those kinds of things you don't want those around little kids. So here I just want to play this. I guess people wondering.
Sure.
It's just really this van with like mag wheels, although people don't say mag. Look at the inside of that van. It's got like all the shag carpeting. It's got like shag carpeting on the doors. This is on The Price is Right, by the way. It's got, well, let them say what it is. Look at it. It's got mag wheels. It's like the A-Team van or something.
This exciting van from LRP is equipped with burr accenting, horseshoe lounge area, mirrored ceiling, sink, water supply, icebox, bed, swivel bucket seats, has AM, FM, 8-track stereo, custom paint, mag wheels, and air conditioning.
They need to bring back, if I was going to do a van build out, I'd put shag carpeting on the walls. It's just something like, of course, it's probably not very good for you when it gets all dusty and stuff. If you ripped out that stuff inside a van, which I have, not a van, but some kind of vehicle, that stuff like just turns into like dust, you know, like rip it off and it's like, it's just something with age, right? The carpeting and like artificial stuff's not good for you. I'm working on different covers for my books for anyone that's gotten this far that cares. I'm using these images here from Creative Commons. Of course, you would quote the artist. And this one here of a house. Wondering what people think. I don't know where this is. I think that's in Detroit, actually. I can't remember. But here is the outcome. Well, actually, this one's the outcome here. You can see it's just the house there. I put some lightning around it. Trying to get it not to look like a horror house, because when you put houses on the cover of novels, they can look like horror. But the main point in going backwards here to these old fashions, almost like a 90s cover, if you know what I mean, it's just very basic. I just can't be bothered anymore with endless trying to think of objects. Plus, I think there's something nice to using real photographs by real people. Okay, like these are real photographs, so you go like photograph. And then, of course, I did change them. So that's the bootstrap paradox. Just very simple. I know that this won't stand out as much, but I don't know. The lift, and of course, just have some buttons there. I realize those buttons are not actually on the lift in my story, but it's just to really get the point across. I do have that color one and the purple. What I was thinking about the purple is just that it kind of looks a bit paranormal, a bit weird. Whereas this one, does it? Don't know. But that's the direction of my new covers anyway. If you want some reference, these are my old covers. Just too much work. I don't think they work now because obviously this is AI. I got some AI generated there, but I think it takes away the soul, and I'm getting sick of really I'm just getting sick of AI images. I just got sick of them. Now this one is a composite of real images, AI images, and then college cut up methods which I put on there. It's like a to do all that. But yeah, I'm moving away from that to real images. I don't care if they don't look as good. I don't know. I just like when I look at these, they remind me of like the 90s, and it's a real picture by a real human, you know. There's just something about it. I'm not anti-AI images like people. I'm not like anti using any tools like that. But I just think there's like, you know, there's something about it. It's something old fashioned, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not complicated. It's just a house on there. You know? Just throw a house on there, throw some lightning around it. They get the gist. It's like a horror. Is it a horror novel? Not really. It's not really a horror novel, but I mean, that's what I went for the house. This shows you it's got like a filter over top of it. And again, even when you get a real image like this and you run certain filters over it, can make it look like an AI image. Not that there's anything wrong with, I mean, on baseline, it's exactly the same house. I'm using filters. It's not like a generated house, right? It's not bad, but it's kind of like got this, I don't know. I do like the halo that's there, but like the filter itself, I'm not sure about. I mean, what's the difference? If you look at that, you'd think that was an AI generated house anyway when it's a real house. It's just got so much crap around it that it's like, you know. But anyway, there are some new covers I'm working on. What do you think? I was just wondering, I was just showing people to see if you get as far as what do you think? Do you think that they are like these new kind of covers? I haven't put them up yet. I'm still a lot of work to do on them, kind of trying to get, you know, it's actually quite a bit of work to change covers. So what do you think? Do you think these are better than the... I mean, you can pause the screen if I'm going too fast. Do you reckon these are better than the new covers? These are more old-fashioned 1990s, right? Old bookstore vibe. You know, it's in the bargain bin for 50 cents. Right? Bootstrap Paradise, like 50 cents. It's like an old weathered, like, what do you call that stuff when you get a little bit of wear over it? Foxine. Jeez, I used to sell red books. I can't remember. You get like foxine over it, and you like warm dog hairs, dog hair patterning and stuff like that. I don't know if I told this story. I think I've told this story before, but I had these volumes of I got in the author. Well, I got the author. I just can't remember which one it was. The one that wrote Rob Roy. What's his name? Sir Walter Scott. So I had these old volumes in like 18 something called Walter Scott, like you know, old ones, you know, with the marbled covers and the insides and stuff like this, and it's been rebound. So like if you look at it, you can see they've used like newspaper in the past, like, you know, 50 years ago, 100 years ago to rebind it. So I had these, and I brought them home from this estate sale, and I opened it up, and it's got like silver sheets that the owner put in there many years ago, like a sheet of pure silver. Okay, I know it's pure silver. And I thought, wow, that's got to be worth a bit. I would say it's probably, I don't know what they're worth, maybe $30, $40, $50 worth of silver in there. Maybe more. I don't know what silver price is. This was before it exploded. This is like 20 years ago, 20-something years ago. And so I go, wow, you know, I'd take that in, and you'll probably get like $50 for it or whatever it's worth. And there's a few sheets in there. So I put it back on the shelf, okay. And then years later, I list them and sell them. There's maybe, I don't know how many sheets of silver was in there, but there were every few pages there was a sheet. So I'm guessing like altogether maybe whatever, I don't know, $50 a sheet, whatever they cost, right? You know, it's maybe a dozen sheets or something. So I put it back there, and then I sell it with all those sheets of silver in it. Yeah. It's been like hundreds of dollars worth of silver, or say $1,000, I don't know. No, a sheet of silver, what's that, about $50? Can't be $100, would it be? I mean, it was a sheet of, you know, significant, like a sheet of silver. And it's not lead or something. I know what lead is, and why would you put lead in a book? I know it wasn't aluminium. I know what aluminium is. No, it was silver. It's like, it wasn't the sheets of silver, by the way, that you get and you draw on or whatever. You know, the ones that are made of gold leaf, and it wasn't that. No, it was the heavy stuff, like a sheet of literal silver that you, I don't know, a jeweler might use. So how much is that worth? I don't want to know, actually, because I'll cry. I don't want to know. If it was a sheet of gold, I might have had a breakdown. Especially with gold prices what they are today. Yeah, if it was a sheet of gold, I would have a breakdown. I would not have liked that. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Some Clown World music. Tie us over.